going to answer a couple questions for you guys today that I received through our Instagram. So we're going to try to go through weekly and answer any questions that you have. That way we can bring some value to A, your training, B, possibly those that are interested in the services we offer and how we structure our coaching and how much involvement we have. I want you guys to be aware of that and know that we are capable of taking those questions and answering them for you. And we'd love for you guys to send these in. So I got two great questions from a youth athlete around this area. Youth as in, we'll say a high school athlete. We'll disregard that comment, youth. First thing he sent was nutrition advice for gaining weight. And basically he's a little bit confused on gaining weight because he's been, in his mind, eating a lot and hasn't been really gaining weight. Although he's getting stronger, he definitely needs to put some size on the frame and gain some weight. So I would say, first things first, people like to make weight gain, weight loss, nutrition really complicated because it's an easier way to sell you on buying a product, right? I think it always comes back to, for this question, how to gain weight, is going to be you need to eat more food. So calories in, calories out. A good example that I use that I enjoy to ask clients is if you took your overweight dog or your underweight dog to the vet, the answer is going to be pretty simple. If it's an overweight dog, your vet's probably going to say, okay, you need to do two things. You need to feed this dog less and you need to exercise it more, right? So that applies to the same way to us as humans. So if you're trying to lose weight and you're not losing weight, you're either not moving enough or you're consuming too much, and vice versa. So the best advice I think for you that sent this in, Dane, would be eat more. So that's going to be the first thing you do. And with how active you are and the training, you have to take all that into account. So you have to remember, figure out what your base metabolic rate is, and then from there, we need to figure out what you need to eat to gain weight on top of the extra stuff you're doing outside of just surviving. So I know you're really active, you're playing sports all the time, so it kind of comes down to you probably need to be eating all the time. When I was in high school, a good example was I always had shaker bottles full of milk and protein, and then I also had 2 or 3 peanut butter and honey or jelly sandwiches just sitting in my backpack. So I'd eat 2 or 3 of those along with all my normal meals for the day. And that's how I started to put on weight. It just comes down to being simple and eating more. Okay, and it's a lot simpler and easy to just tell you that when you're trying to gain weight rather than lose weight. So really right now, for your age, your situation, how active you are, food quality is important, but at the same time, you just need to eat more. And if right now that means a bunch of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, then so be it. So that'd be my recommendation. That'd be my answer for you. If you are an athlete in high school that is having trouble gaining weight and you're trying to gain weight for specific reasons, first off, look at, how much are you eating, because you probably need to be eating more. And it keeps coming back to something that's simple, and there's not really a secret advice or a certain supplement that is going to help you. I would say the only supplements that I would recommend in this situation would be a protein shake or a protein supplement, so that you can get more that way. You can also get mass gainer shakes. And if you already are taking a mass gainer shake, you can always double that serving, right? And I also believe that creatine is a great way for people to put on muscle. So I think creatine is probably one of the most proven and backed supplements, along with eating more and taking those protein shakes. So that's my first cut into that. Okay, second question: how do you balance lifting with in-season skill training? So that's a whole battle that we run into and see as coaches all the time. Is if you want to really get into it, kids are overplaying, right? So basically, we're seeing athletes that are 13 to 16 years old that there is no such thing as in season and out of season, because they're playing 2 to 3 sports, which we like that. But the problem is it's not they're playing one sport and then move on to the next sport and then move on to the next sport. They're playing soccer, and then basketball season starts, but they're still on a club soccer team. So they're playing club soccer, they're playing basketball, they're going to basketball tournaments, maybe playing 4 or 5 games in a weekend, and then the next weekend they're playing soccer, or maybe even during the week they're playing some soccer games with a traveling team. So the problem is there's too much right now in terms of, in my opinion, competition. So if you're going to be a multi-sport athlete, you basically have to make sure you stay pretty religious about playing your sport and then moving on, playing the next sport, and not always trying to play all three of them at the same time. And then to couple that, like you asked, balance lifting with in-season skill training. I think that with most high school athletes, there shouldn't necessarily be a fluctuation of consistency with lifting. I think you should be lifting at least 3 times a week when you are in season. And that's, I mean, some people will disagree with that, but I think you need to be lifting 3 times during the season, and volume's going to be adjusted, right? So if you're in season, the volume of what you're doing is going to be lowered, but you're still going to be in the gym that many times per day, maintaining strength, working on mobility, working on movement, counterbalancing, especially if you play a rotational sport or a sport that, you know, uses one side more than the other. You definitely need to be in the gym 3 to 4 times a week, working on balancing out and fixing those imbalances and deficiencies that you're going to naturally develop playing your sport. And that's one problem, is people avoid the gym in season, which right now is all season, right, all year long. So they're not getting a balanced, structured training program that can, in a way, actually keep them more healthy and balance out the things they're doing. So my recommendation would be continue training throughout the season, maintaining strength, moving, working on deficiencies, balancing out movement that you probably find yourself doing a lot. Do the opposite side. Work on the opposite side of that. Train in a way that's going to carry over to sport, so you can work on, you know, developing that posterior chain and working to improve movement patterning, because a lot of times, I mean, we've got kids that are 13 years old that can't finish games because their knees hurt so bad, that come to us to get fixed. So it's pretty sad that we're having overuse injuries and from just a lot of movement pattern loading, like shitty movement patterning that's getting loaded repeatedly with no breaks. So, because it's pretty hard to injure a 13-year-old from overuse because of where they're at, so, and their age. So that kind of opens up a huge topic, but let's just bring it back to, I think the lifting should be just as important in season as it was out of season. I think if you're an athlete that maintains a consistent strength program throughout the entirety of the year, you're going to have a very distinct advantage over those that don't. And I think if you have somebody in your corner that can help you create a program that makes sense and teach you how to do it in a way that carries over, it's really going to be a separating factor. It's going to keep you healthy, and there's no reason that you shouldn't be training in season. Again, just look at volume, make sure the volume is in accordance with how much you're playing and whatnot, because that's going to be different for athletes. I mean, if you're a starting athlete that's playing every game every minute, I mean, that you're going to train that athlete a little bit different than somebody that's on the bench that isn't really playing. So I think that kind of sums it up. I would definitely encourage you to continue training, continue lifting weights, and focusing on things that can balance you out. And I don't think it should change from what you were doing in the season other than volume. I don't think your movements should change. And I think that way you can arm yourself with a really robust skill set and strength to finish the season injury-free and move better and outshine those that don't. So that'd be my answer to that question. I hope that gives you some feedback. If you're a parent that's listening to this and you're interested in hearing more about that, or you might be overplaying your athlete and now you're just realizing that, feel free to reach out to us. We can have a conversation about it. See, it's unique, it's individual, and that's what we hang our hat on. So we're always there to help with that. You can contact us, head over to Hanson Athletics. For those that, you know, are just listening in, I really appreciate you guys' support, and I hope this was beneficial to you in some way, and you can take this video and learn something from it. So thanks, guys.